Have you ever been jolted out of a peaceful rest by a sharp, twisting pain in your leg? That unexpected rush of discomfort can come without warning, often in the middle of the night, and it can feel like your muscles are locked in place. If you're nodding right now because you've been there, know that you're not alone. Many people over 65 experience leg cramps that seem to strike at the worst possible moments. But here's the surprising part. These cramps aren't a normal or inevitable part of aging. They can often be managed or reduced significantly with just a few simple changes. In fact, I've watched friends and clients well into their 80s discover new freedom of movement once they began to target the root causes of their leg cramps rather than accepting them as part of life. I'm a supportive movement specialist who has spent years working with older adults, focusing on gentle exercises that promote strength, flexibility, and stability. While I'm not a doctor and can't replace personalized medical advice, I've seen firsthand how small, thoughtful movements can make a huge difference in daily comfort. If you address recurring leg cramps, you don't just ease the discomfort, you regain those precious moments of peaceful sleep, you reduce daytime soreness, and you increase confidence in your body's ability to move without fear of sudden pain. And when you feel better physically, it has a way of lifting your spirits too. It's an incredible transformation to witness. People who once viewed exercise as risky or painful are now feeling more balanced and empowered. You might be wondering, what exactly can you do at 65, 75, or even 85 to minimize leg cramps? The good news is that the solution can be as simple as stretching the right muscles at the right times. Today, I'm going to share 5 gentle stretches that you can do at home. No fancy gym membership or equipment required. If you've been told that all stretching is the same, or that stretching isn't necessary in later years, get ready for a pleasant surprise. There's a reason many seasoned physical therapists emphasize consistent, low-impact stretches. They help maintain flexibility, promote better circulation, and support the muscles that can cramp when they're overworked or tight. Before we dive in, here's what you can expect if you give these techniques an honest try. Fewer late-night cramps, calmer and more relaxed muscles, and a renewed sense of control over your body. Think of it as a small daily commitment that offers a big payoff. Some folks have even found that they go weeks without a single episode of cramping once they incorporate these stretches. Of course, it's always wise to talk to your healthcare provider before beginning any new routine, especially if you have conditions like arthritis or reduced mobility. But my goal is to show you just how adaptable these stretches can be for different comfort levels. If you're ready to experience the relief that so many of my clients have enjoyed, then stick around. We'll explore the most common misconceptions about leg cramps, introduce you to real-life seniors who have transformed their daily routines, and give you actionable steps that you can start today, even right now in your living room. By the end, I hope you feel not just pain-free, but also more empowered in your journey toward better health. And if at any point you have your own tips or questions, I encourage you to keep the conversation going. After all, we're in this together, and there's nothing more motivating than knowing we can support each other every step of the way. Let's begin with the first gentle stretch that sets the stage for real, lasting relief. It might challenge some assumptions you've held for years, but that's part of the joy of discovery. Realizing that there's always room to learn something new and nurturing for our bodies, no matter our age. The first misconception that many older adults believe is that they need intense or frequent stretches to make any difference. In reality, a small action can go a long way. Take Margaret, for example, who's 79 and has spent most of her life avoiding exercise because she worried it would do more harm than good. She thought her legs were simply too weak and that any stretching would either be pointless or painful. When I first met her, she'd been dealing with near nightly leg cramps that took away her sleep. A gentle, seated calf stretch was the first step we tried, something so mild you'd barely think it would help. Yet after just a couple of weeks of consistent practice, Margaret reported that her cramps were fewer and less intense. The seated calf stretch can be done from almost anywhere. A kitchen chair, the edge of your bed, or even a park bench if you'd like some fresh air. Start by sitting up straight, both feet flat on the ground. Then extend one leg out in front of you with your heel on the floor, toes pointed upward. Keeping your back long and your torso lifted, gently lean forward from your hips until you feel a comfortable stretch in your calf. There's no need to force anything. Just breathe normally, hold for about 20 seconds, and then switch legs. The key is consistency, doing this once or twice a day. If that seems too challenging at first, simply reduce the depth of your forward lean until you find a position that works for you. What Margaret's story taught us is that it's never too late, nor are you ever too tight to benefit from a basic stretch. Often, leg cramps stem from tight calf muscles or restricted circulation in the lower leg. A gentle seated stretch helps gradually improve blood flow and flexibility, which in turn reduces the frequency of spasms. For many seniors, the emotional benefit is just as significant. The realization that they're not helpless prisoners to random nighttime cramps. Seeing your own progress, no matter how slight, builds confidence and a renewed sense of autonomy over your body. If you find yourself thinking, but what if I don't have time? Or, I'm not sure I can keep up with a daily routine. Consider this. It takes less than a minute per leg. That's shorter than making a cup of tea. By making this stretch a mini ritual, maybe right after you sit down to read the newspaper or watch your favorite show, you build a gentle habit that can profoundly influence your comfort at night. You might also notice that standing or walking feels easier over time because your calves and ankles become more relaxed and responsive. This is where the simple seated calf stretch meets a deeper truth. Small, consistent steps lead to substantial improvements in your overall well-being. Before we move on to the next technique, I want you to try something. The next time you feel the slightest hint of tension in your legs, maybe when you're sitting at the kitchen table or even in your recliner, pause and do this stretch. Listen to how your body responds. By checking in with yourself this way, you're sending a powerful signal. You're invested in your wellness, and you believe that your body can still adapt and thrive. Now that we've dispelled the myth that only a strenuous stretching helps, let's shift our attention to another common area that often plays a bigger role in leg cramps than people realize: your hamstrings. Many older adults who struggle with leg cramps assume that the calf is the only culprit. This leads them to repeatedly stretch their calves, which can help, but sometimes misses the broader picture. Meet Harold, who's 82 and prided himself on doing regular ankle rotations to keep cramps at bay. He'd roll his ankles, do a quick calf stretch, and call it a day. But those leg cramps persisted, sometimes even creeping up during a pleasant morning walk. When Harold mentioned he also had some lower back stiffness, we took a closer look at the muscles in the backs of his thighs, his hamstrings. Sure enough, they were incredibly tight. By adding a gentle hamstring stretch to his daily routine, his cramps improved more in 2 weeks than they had in the previous 2 years of focusing solely on calf stretches. This new perspective highlights a misconception many have, that stretching one part of the leg is enough to solve the entire problem. The body is interconnected. Tight hamstrings can contribute to overall muscle imbalances in the legs, sometimes causing other muscles, like the calves, to work overtime and spasm. When you loosen up the hamstrings, you reduce tension across the entire chain of muscles in your legs, which can lead to fewer cramps. For a simple standing hamstring stretch, find a counter or sturdy chair to hold on to for balance. Keep one foot on the ground while you place the other heel on a low stool or even the first step of your staircase. Gently hinge forward from the hips with a straight back, aiming to feel a mild stretch along the back of your thigh. If bending forward is challenging, just slightly shift your weight forward until you find a comfortable stretch. Hold for 15 to 20 seconds, then carefully switch legs. If standing feels unsteady, try a modified seated version. Sit on a firm chair, extend one leg out with your heel on the floor, and lean forward from your hips. The emotional shift that happens when hamstring stretches become part of your routine can be quite uplifting. By addressing the tension in the back of your legs, you start to feel relief in areas you didn't realize were stiff, like your lower back and hips. That alone can be a tremendous mood booster, as you realize it's possible to reduce some nagging aches you may have simply labeled old age. Harold's story is proof that it's never too late to explore new solutions. Sometimes the smallest change, A shift from focusing solely on calf stretches to including hamstring stretches can unlock a world of relief. If you're doing this stretch and thinking, I can't reach as far as I used to, or my leg feels too stiff, remember, progress, not perfection. It's okay if your hamstring flexibility isn't what it was in your younger days. Even a slight stretch is beneficial. Consistency over time is what creates meaningful improvement, and that's where the sense of empowerment really shines. Like Harold, you might find that your daily walks become more enjoyable and less prone to those sneaky cramps. Now that we've explored the hamstrings, I want to take a moment for a quick check-in. Have you tried either of the stretches we've discussed, calf or hamstring, and noticed any slight improvement already? Even if you just perform them for a few seconds, pay attention to how your legs feel. Is there a bit of relief in tension or a gentle warmth signaling improved blood flow? By noticing these small cues, you're reinforcing the idea that mindful movement can bring about change. If you've got any questions or your own quick tips, keep them in mind. You never know who else in our community might benefit from your experiences. Let's move on to the third stretch, which focuses on a muscle group many overlook until it's too late: the hip flexors. A lot of people assume that leg cramps only come from muscles below the knee, but the entire network of muscles supporting your legs extends up into your hips and lower trunk. When your hip flexors are overly tight, a common issue if you spend a lot of time sitting, the strain can radiate downward. This tightness might even trigger cramps in places you wouldn't expect, like the thighs or calves. Consider Emily, who's 76 and leads a quiet lifestyle, often reading or doing puzzles in her cozy armchair. She started experiencing thigh cramps, particularly after standing up. At first, she had no idea that her hips could be contributing to the problem. When we introduced a simple hip flexor stretch, her cramps subsided dramatically. It's a revelation for many seniors that sitting for prolonged periods can shorten the hip flexors, making them tense and reactive. This tension then forces surrounding muscles to compensate, increasing the likelihood of leg cramps. To stretch the hip flexors, stand facing a sturdy chair or countertop for balance. Step 1 foot back and gently bend the front knee while keeping your torso upright. You should feel a mild stretch at the front of your hip in the leg that's extended behind you. Hold for around 20 seconds and then switch sides. If standing is difficult, a seated variation is possible too. Sit sideways in a chair, slide one leg behind you, and carefully lean your torso back to open the front of the hip. Beyond physical relief, there's a psychological benefit in addressing hip tension. You start to feel more stable and balanced when walking, and everyday tasks like climbing stairs or getting up from a chair become smoother. Emily found that once her hip flexors were less tight, she had better posture and more confidence in her movements. That kind of boost in self-assurance can ripple outward into every part of your life, helping you stay active and socially engaged. A common obstacle is thinking, my balance isn't great. What if I fall? That's exactly why using a sturdy piece of furniture or a wall for support is crucial. And remember, you don't have to lean too deeply into the stretch. The goal isn't to see how far you can go, it's to gently ease tension out of the hips. If you have a walker, you can even do this stretch standing behind it, stepping 1 foot back while holding on to the walker's handles for stability. The small adjustments you make to accommodate your comfort level are not signs of weakness, but indicators of self-awareness. You're taking responsibility for your well-being and proving that it's possible to adapt exercises at any age. When Emily realized she could modify the hip flexor stretch to suit her balance needs, she felt empowered. She went from worrying about a potential fall to seeing a real improvement in her overall mobility. That shift in mindset from fear to possibility is one of the most significant transformations older adults can experience. If you've ever felt nervous about trying new stretches, I encourage you to approach it with curiosity. Start slow, be safe, and focus on how even a small change can lead to greater comfort. Let's keep up the momentum and move to the fourth stretch. So far, we've tackled the calves, hamstrings, and hip flexors. Our next stop is a group of muscles that often escape notice, but are essential for preventing leg cramps and maintaining balance: the inner thighs. One common misconception is that all leg muscles are used equally in daily activities. That's not entirely true. Take Ron, who's 81 and lives alone in a single-story home. He rarely had to climb stairs and spent most of his day walking on flat surfaces. But Ron began to notice that certain movements, like stepping sideways to reach a kitchen cabinet, would trigger a sudden twinge or cramp in his inner thigh. He thought that if he was walking a little every day, his legs were getting enough exercise. But the truth was, his inner thigh muscles weren't being engaged much at all. Tight or weak inner thigh muscles, often called the adductors, can lead to imbalance, making other parts of your leg do more work than they should. This imbalance might not cause cramps every day, but it can suddenly flare up in awkward movements or as you shift your weight unexpectedly. To give these muscles some gentle love, you can do a standing side lunge stretch. Stand with your feet wider than shoulder width apart, holding onto a sturdy surface. Slowly bend one knee, leaning your weight into that side while keeping the other leg straight. You'll feel a stretch along the inner thigh of the straight leg. Switch sides after about 20 seconds. If you're worried about balance, place a hand on a countertop or use a chair for additional support. Alternatively, for a seated variation, sit at the edge of a chair with your legs placed wider than your hips. Gently press your knees outward using your hands, feeling a mild stretch in the inner thigh area. Avoid any sudden or forceful movements and keep your back straight. Ron found that adding this into his morning routine made a noticeable difference in how his legs felt during everyday tasks. He also reported fewer of those random twinges that used to catch him off guard. Besides the physical relief, stretching your inner thighs can bolster your confidence in moving laterally and performing balance-related tasks. For some seniors, the fear of losing balance is so strong that it limits their activities, which can then make the issue worse. By gradually strengthening and stretching the inner thighs, you're effectively supporting your body's natural stabilizing mechanism. That often translates to more trust in your legs when you have to pivot, reach sideways, or negotiate crowded spaces. I realize that trying to incorporate multiple stretches can feel like a lot to remember. A good approach is to make it part of your morning or bedtime routine. For Ron, it was easiest to do a quick round of stretches after he brushed his teeth at night. It became a habit that took less than 5 minutes, but paid dividends throughout the day. I encourage you to consider linking these stretches to a daily ritual you already have. Maybe that first cup of coffee or the evening news, so they become second nature. Before we get to our fifth and final stretch, let's pause for another check-in. Are you noticing a pattern in the types of misconceptions we've been addressing? Many revolve around the belief that only one or two muscles need attention, but the body is a symphony of interconnected parts. When you address each group thoughtfully, you're setting yourself up for a comprehensive improvement in leg comfort. If you have any reservations about your ability to perform these stretches safely, remember that consulting with a healthcare provider or physical therapist is always a wise move. Their professional insights can help tailor these exercises to your specific needs. Now let's explore our fifth stretch, focused on the often overlooked muscles along the outer hips and thighs, commonly referred to as the iliotibial IT band area. Many seniors assume that if they're staying relatively active, maybe doing some gardening, light walks, or even water aerobics, they're covering all their bases. However, the outer thighs can remain tight and understretched. This tightness sometimes contributes to knee pain and can exacerbate leg cramps, especially when you lie down at night. Picture Betty, age 78, who loved her afternoon gardening sessions. She'd squat, kneel, and bend, but noticed an increasing stiffness along her outer thighs. It would sometimes wake her up at night with a cramp that ran from her hip down toward her knee. When we examined her daily habits, we realized she'd never specifically stretched that area. To stretch the outer thigh, try a standing IT band stretch with a chair for support. Stand with your right side next to the chair, holding on for balance. Cross your left foot in front of your right foot. Slowly lean your torso toward the chair, letting your left hip shift outward until you feel a mild stretch along the outside of your left thigh. Keep your knees soft and avoid locking them. Hold for about 20 seconds, then switch sides. If standing is uncomfortable, you can do a version of this stretch while sitting. Cross one leg over the other and gently twist your upper body in the direction of your crossed leg, feeling a stretch along the outer thigh. Betty discovered a noticeable reduction in her nighttime cramps once she began incorporating this stretch. More than that, she found that kneeling in her garden became less taxing on her hips. The emotional shift was also significant. She went from dreading the possibility of another painful cramp to feeling like she had a proactive way to keep them at bay. That sense of personal agency is invaluable, especially if you felt like your body is betraying you with unexpected pains. If you're skeptical, maybe thinking, why bother when my cramps are mostly in my calves or hamstrings? Know that the leg muscles and supporting structures often behave like a network of pulleys. A tight outer hip can indirectly create stress elsewhere. By gently loosening this area, you can relieve hidden tensions that might be contributing to your overall discomfort. Plus, flexible outer thighs can improve your balance and gait, reducing the risk of stumbles or falls, which is a key concern for many older adults. Now that you've been introduced to 5 distinct stretches, calf, hamstring, hip flexor, inner thigh, and outer thigh, you have a comprehensive toolkit to address leg cramps from multiple angles. Each stretch tackles a specific piece of the puzzle, and together they can create a potent defense against those painful spasms. Rather than waiting for cramps to strike, you can integrate these stretches into your daily life and build a more resilient, stable foundation. Let's recap the journey so far. We started by challenging the notion that severe stretches or high-intensity routines are necessary for relief. Through real-life examples like Margaret, Harold, Emily, Ron, and Betty, we uncovered common myths and revealed just how interconnected our muscles are. These seniors learned that addressing all the major muscle groups in the legs, calves, hamstrings, hip flexors, inner thighs, and outer thighs, can greatly reduce cramping episodes and improve overall mobility. It's a simple, natural solution that requires no fancy equipment, no expensive memberships, and minimal time investment. Many people delay making changes because they think the results won't be worth the effort, or they worry they're past the age where anything can really help. But think about what life could look like with fewer late-night disruptions, less soreness during the day, and more confidence in your own body. That sense of autonomy and the freedom to move without fear is priceless at any age. If you're feeling inspired, there's no better time to start than now. Maybe you'll choose one stretch to try after you finish watching or reading this. Or perhaps you'll create a little routine, stretching each muscle group once or twice a day. The key is consistency. Real change often comes in small increments repeated over time. If you practice these stretches regularly, you'll likely notice not just fewer leg cramps, but also improved balance, better posture, and a general ease in daily movements. Picture yourself gardening without that nagging worry of seizing up, or enjoying a full night's sleep without dreading a sudden jolt of pain. It's also wise to check in with a healthcare professional if you have any ongoing medical conditions, or if you're uncertain about how these stretches fit into your current health plan. Think of these professionals as partners in your well-being. They can offer personalized tips or modifications to make each stretch safer and more effective for you. Remember, we're not aiming for perfection or advanced yoga poses here. We're aiming for gentle, gradual progress. If you're the kind of person who likes to measure progress, you might keep a little journal. Write down the days you do the stretches and note any changes in your sleep quality or comfort level. Did you go a whole week without a leg cramp? Celebrate that victory. Share your results with a friend, spouse, or family member who might also be dealing with these issues. By spreading the word, you create a supportive community where everyone benefits from shared knowledge. The most important thing is to maintain your sense of curiosity and empowerment. You have more control over your comfort and mobility than you might realize. Even if you've had these cramps for years, there's room for improvement. You've earned the right to explore solutions that enhance your quality of life. Don't let anyone tell you that leg cramps are just a fact of aging that you have to live with. So here's my gentle challenge for you. Choose at least 2 of the 5 stretches we discussed, maybe the calf stretch and the hip flexor stretch, to do once a day for the next week. Observe how your body feels. If you find relief, fantastic. You can gradually add the other stretches. If you hit a snag or feel discomfort, back off and discuss it with a trusted medical or fitness professional. The point is not to push through pain, but to give your muscles a chance to relax and lengthen safely. Before we wrap up, I'd like you to envision yourself a few weeks from now, having built a steady routine. Perhaps you're walking more confidently to the mailbox, or sleeping better because those cramps aren't rudely interrupting your rest. Maybe you're even teaching a friend or grandchild these stretches. The possibilities are as wide as your willingness to explore them. This is your journey, and every step or stretch you take is a testament to your resilience and adaptability. I'd love to know which of these stretches you find the most helpful. If you have your own variations or additional tips, sharing them can spark ideas for others in our community. After all, we're here to learn and grow together. And if you found value in this conversation, consider passing it along to someone else who might benefit from a gentle nudge toward healthier, more flexible legs. Now, to all of you dedicated souls who stuck with me through this entire discussion, I have a small but meaningful parting message. Never underestimate your power to adapt and improve. Age may bring changes, but it also brings a wealth of experience and wisdom you can use to your advantage. You are not defined by leg cramps or any other limitation. With mindful movement, consistent care, and a spirit of curiosity, you can find relief and reclaim the comfort you deserve. Every stretch is a step toward greater freedom, and I'm here cheering you on every inch of the way.